Okay, welcome to Psalm 90. We're doing the precept method or the inductive Bible study method. And the first things that we do are we read the scripture and we highlight, we mark keywords and key phrases. So, so let's read the scripture. Who would like to read it the first time? Because we'll read it a couple of times. Liz, do you want to read it?
Yeah, sure. Anyway, I'm not sure which version I printed out, but it's just one of the versions that we
Yep.
printed. Okay. So, Psalm 90, a prayer of Moses, the man of God. Lord, you have been our dwelling place in all generations. Before the mountains were brought forth, or ever you had formed the earth and the world, from everlasting to everlasting, you are God. You return to dust and say, Return, O children of man. For 1,000 years in your sight are but as yesterday, when it is past, or as a watch in the night. You sweep them away as with a flood. They are like a dream, like grass that is renewed in the morning. In the morning it flourishes and is renewed. In the evening it fades and withers. For we are brought to an end by your anger, by your wrath, we are dismayed. You have set our iniquities before you, our secret sins in the light of your presence. For all our days pass away under your wrath. We bring our years to an end like a sigh. The years of our life are 70, or even by reason of strength 80. Yet their span is but toil and trouble. They are soon gone and fly away. Who considers the power of your anger and your wrath according to the fear of you? So teach us to number our days that we may gain a heart of wisdom. Return, O Lord, how long? Have pity on your servants. Satisfy us in the morning with your steadfast love, that we may rejoice and be glad all of our days. Make us glad as for as many days as you have afflicted us, and for as many years as we have seen evil. Let your work be shown to your servants, and your glorious power to their children. Let the favor of the Lord our God be upon us, and establish the work of our hands upon us. Yes, establish the work of our hands.
So I just want to show you this book, if you can see it. There. Can you see that? So this is one of Kay Arthur's books on how to study the Bible, how to study your Bible. And there's also a workbook with it. And it was a study that I did on Zoom, and it was very helpful. It was very, very challenging. And that's why I ended up putting together this paper that we're going to follow. So it is not, I have not copied their stuff. I have made it based on what was trying to learn. Like I was trying to remember. I was having troubles remembering all the different steps. And so that's why I made this paper. But I'm saying all this because everybody is going to develop their own method of doing it. The more you do it, you will develop your own method. So there isn't one way. Um, all right. So thank you for reading that, Liz. So based on Liz, the first reading, what are some thoughts? Like what's a thought, an overview? Dave and I went out for a walk and we were talking about it, and I was thinking, I don't know what I guess we were talking about. Oh, Dave said, "Oh, you've only got 9 years left." We're 61. And so then I thought, oh yeah, maybe we shouldn't be doing this psalm with this group, like everybody. And that's when we were thinking, okay, how old is everybody? And Paul's probably the youngest. So that's my thoughts, like that's, I don't
Well,
know if
what about
anybody,
us who are over 80?
yeah, right. Yeah. And
We've
has
already
anybody,
expired our date.
exactly. Yeah. Has anybody listened to Arnold's material, or read the manuscript? Yeah. Because he gives you an exercise to do, and that's what I'm referring to. So that's what I
Oh, I'm
think
not
of
doing
now.
that exercise.
So, but that's what I
Guess
think of.
how old you'll be when you die?
Well, how many days we have left? So Dave and I have about 3,100 and something. I wrote it down. So,
I
but
did
that's it's just an exercise and that's the gist of this psalm, right? To number your days, to live them with purpose.
Yeah. I did
So,
find it interesting though that where it refers to,
And see it. Oh,
only so many days, right? And yet we've been talking about the 1,000-year kingdom, and so we have so many days here in this state, but it goes on forever.
well,
And
what a positive thing to say.
And I also think that sometimes non-believers take this wither as the grass and that, and use that and say, well, this is all there is to, there's nothing beyond this, right? They could almost interpret it from some of these phrases.
Yeah.
So then you have to kind of convince them that there is more beyond this.
Right. So that's an excellent, excellent thing. I just wrote that down. We have the 1,000-year kingdom to look forward to, and then, of course, eternity, having just finished studying all that. Yeah. So that's why we need each other. And I keep thinking about what Marie said, I don't know when it was, last week, and you were saying you just love this because when we get together, everybody has their own input, their own insights. And I think that's a really good one. So thank you for sharing that. Any other thoughts, just, at the get-go? What you're thinking of when you think of Psalm 90? The other one that I think of is the other night at Thursday night Bible study, I was wasting time waiting for people to come and get ready and get their coffee and whatever. And, the people on Zoom are waiting. And so and I said something about, I'm just wasting. And then I realized, no, I can't say I'm wasting time because this Psalm 90, there's a clear warning. Don't think that way. You need to use every minute for the Lord. So that's another thought from Psalm 90 for me. Like a lot of people, wasting time waiting or whatever in line or so.
And then you have to think most people are very insensitive to the brevity of life or the wrath of God. We just live our lives and that's what they are and don't think about those things.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. And so that's what Hilda was sort of saying to help people understand. No, it's not the end. It doesn't have to be the end, right?
well, people don't even think about the end. When you're young, it's never going to happen. It's
True.
not till you get older and you've only got a few
Exactly.
years left.
Right. And Arnold talks about that as well. And that's in this.
Yeah, and you become more aware that as you get to the end. But when you're a kid or when you're, going through in your 20s and 30s and 40s and 50s even, is when you get in your 70s, let me tell you.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you start thinking about it, because I think, okay, my mom died when she was 88.
Wow.
I've got it possibly X number of years left to live if I think about how,
Right.
what age my mother died.
Right.
My grandmothers were in their 90s, but you think about it, whereas when you're younger, you're
You
40,
don't.
you're old,
Yeah. Yeah.
People are old at 40.
Yeah. All right. So tell me some words that like key words that you marked or phrases, or look at them now and mark them.
Well, there was a lot of mention of the wrath of God.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anger, wrath.
Anger. And also I included you swept them away as part of that anger. Return to dust. I don't know whether that was anger or not, but that's
Yeah.
reality, maybe more than anger. But all right.
Yeah. Good. Swept away, dust, anger, wrath. So as you're doing this, you can like use markers. So I've got this, yellow one for the Lord. So then that's where we highlight the Lord, usually is with yellow, for God. And then you also mark wherever it's referring to the Lord. So the word you, when it's referring to the Lord. So you would highlight that in yellow as well. And then in verse 4, it talks about your in your sight. So that's referring to the Lord. And verse 7, your anger, referring to the Lord's anger, and your wrath, your fury, iniquities before you, in light of your presence. So that's all those you and yours are highlighted in yellow. Who understands the power of your anger? That's verse 11. And your fury, verse 11. 13 for Lord. Yeah, so that's good, Dave. So that is what? That's somebody
The
has put that
marking
together,
guide that they came up with. Yeah.
a marking guide. So, I mean, if you use all of them, your paper is going to be such a mess, you're not going to be able to read it, right? So you need to pick and choose.
Well, I think Paul showed us a real simple one there.
Yeah, different colors.
Hmm.
Yeah, I expanded on that though, because I'm making up my own list of words in the Bible, and as I go along, and I put them as red for the blood of Jesus,
Yeah,
yellow for praise, prayers, angels, glory, green for growth and Christ likeness,
excellent.
blue for something to do, direction or command, purple character of God,
Yeah,
and then black is wrath and all that.
good. And Dave, what did you do for wrath? We talked about that last night. You said you drew what, a cloud or something?
Well, that was for evil.
Okay.
Wrath is just a red W written over top of the word.
Okay. Yeah, and Marie likes to do that, right? You use the letters, the first letter,
Yes.
right? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So everybody will develop their own, and the idea is to continue on doing that, throughout. So any other keywords, phrases?
Well, I didn't use it like things like anger and that. I just looked at things that stood out to me, like our dwelling place.
Okay.
And then things like from everlasting to everlasting, you are God, and 1,000 years in your sight are but as yesterday. And then the years of life are 70 or even 80 by reason of strength. Like things that are key, or teach us to number our days. Like those are key things I think that, the Psalms communicating to us.
Yeah. Very good. Yeah, it's all about your, what speaks to you and what makes sense to you. Yeah. And we get together and we share about it.
And there was
Anything,
a lot of time words.
time, yes,
Time, just T for time. Sorry.
right. You put T for time. Okay.
Because some of it was eternity and some of it was transient, right? But anyway, it was all to do with time. Lots of time words.
Exactly. Yeah. Anything else? So we're still in the keywords and phrases and what symbols. Divine judgment. I don't know if that was said, and sin, yeah, and wisdom, and yeah, mercy, loving kindness, love. So love, you could draw a heart in red around the word love. Those are just some ideas. And so, yeah, it's both phrases and keywords. And so the purpose of doing these keywords is to then go to your list sheet, and then you're going to pick, I've only got enough space for 5. So now I guess it all depends. Everybody's would be different, because if your keywords, like I've picked Lord. So Lord is my first one. And then man is the second one. And Moses. And then the nation of Israel. So everywhere it talks about the Lord or man. So then we're going to go through and make a list based on that. So the Lord is probably the easiest one to do because there's so many. So we read it again and stop so that's the whole purpose of highlighting it in whatever color, or marking it because then it's easy to find. So for me, I have Lord in yellow. What are some other, how have you done it?
I use purple because it's a royal color.
Yes, very good. Yeah. Any others?
I just put an L through every word, so every
Excellent.
U or whatever.
Yeah, excellent. Some other thoughts? So then let's do that. So, okay, so now with our list, so I have Lord at the top, and then you're going to go through each verse or every place you've highlighted it. So verse 1. So what do we learn about the Lord? And that's what we put in that first box from
You
verse
going up or
1.
down?
Sorry?
Which way are you going, down or up?
Starting, well, the way I do it is starting at the top. And so then verse 1, verse 2, verse, like wherever it's,
Oh, okay.
Fill
All
the
right.
small spots.
what did you say?
Sorry.
Okay. So, yeah, so looking at verse 1 or the first place where my keyword is marked, what do we learn about the Lord?
Dwelling place.
So the Lord is a dwelling place, yes, for all generations. So that's what I wrote in the first box. Verse 1, I've got Lord at the top, so I know it's talking about the Lord, dwelling place for all generations. And of course, everybody's is going to be different, right? Like maybe a lot will be the same, but some could, be there and some could not. So then the next one, verse 2, what do we learn about the Lord?
He's eternal.
Okay. Yeah. Excellent. What else?
Creator.
Creator. Okay. All right. I said gave birth. So that I guess is the same thing. Creator is one word and that takes up less space. That's good. So that's what I have for two of them for verse 2. Anything else? Are you happy with that? There is, of course, a lot more to learn from verse 2, but right now what we're just doing is making a list. So the next one is verse 3. What do you learn about the Lord from verse 3?
He decreates
Ah,
back to dust.
uh-huh.
That's why I don't dusk. It could be somebody I know.
Ah! You're funny, Hilda. We're learning something new about you. Okay, verse 4. What do we learn about the Lord?
His sense of time is very different from ours.
Uh-huh.
It's saying 1,000 years is like yesterday to him.
Okay. And what's another way to
Or
word
like,
that?
or like a watch, or like a watch. They gave two things that it was like. It would be like yesterday or like a watch. So a watch in the night was 4 hours.
Uh-huh. Yeah,
He's-
we'll get
he's-
into that. Yeah.
He's outside of time.
Okay. Any other ways of wording it? So regarding God and time, Dave, what did you say?
Time is meaningless.
Right, to God. Yeah. All right. Then verse 5.
How could, just back to verse 4,
Sure.
what's the word that could be used that, he knows the past, present, and future? So 1,000 years could be yesterday, or it could be in a watch in the night, or it could be this or that. So
Yeah.
I'm just wondering if there's a word that would describe that.
I think
all
someone
knowing.
I think
He's
someone
all
said
knowing.
it was it Hilda, outside of time?
Or is there a word that starts with omni something
Hmm.
and then ends with the
Yeah.
meaning of time?
Omni chronos. That's good. I don't know. Yeah. Okay, that's good. Verse 5. What do we learn about the Lord in verse 5? So now this was interesting. Dave and I were talking about this yesterday. Do you want to talk about how you took it, Dave?
Oh, in verse 5, I interpreted the them as a reference to years, because
Hmm.
it's talking about them coming, and then verse 6 talks about them coming up in the morning and then fading away at night. So it's like years or days just come and go. They're like a dream.
And I took it from listening to Arnold and Arnold's not necessarily right? Like we're to study the scriptures ourselves, that it's talking about man.
Well, you go
I
back
have
to,
judgment.
you have to go back to who he's talking about. So he's talking about man is turned in dust.
Yeah. Yeah.
I have judgment.
Right. Yeah. Swept man away like a flood. Yeah. But it is interesting, Dave. Like, like it's good to bring this stuff up because, yeah, it makes you think.
Well, I thought like we get up in the morning and we're all refreshed, but boy, by nighttime we're ready for bed
Yeah.
again. So every morning, in the morning they wake like grass, and then
Yeah.
in the morning it flourishes and we feel good, but
Yeah.
towards evening we fade away. Now
Yeah.
that could refer to a daily refreshing,
Mm.
or it could be like when you're first young,
Yeah.
you flourish and whatever, and then you fade as you get older.
Exactly.
It could be sort of thought of both ways.
Excellent. And Arnold goes into that in his audio in the manuscript. That's very good. You picked that up. So
Oh,
that's Mhm.
I haven't heard the audio, sorry, but to me it looks like you sweep people away in the sleep of death. He sees the generations. He sees them all.
Okay. Yeah, good.
I would just go, if we were taught, depending how this was written, but normally when you say sweep them away, it would be to do with the previous sentence.
Yeah, that's what Dave took it as. Yeah.
So, otherwise we're jumping back to the beginning. But anyways, I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
My version says you sweep people away.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, maybe. Mhm.
Yeah.
Well, that's why different versions and how it was all written
Yeah.
together matters, right?
Yeah.
That's
So, but this is
NIV.
NIV, okay. But this is good because we're going to keep going over and over and over, and we're just doing the first. So that's excellent. We're going to keep getting deeper and deeper. So now Susan already talked about verse 6 being flourishes, sprouts, new in the morning,
What did
fade.
you decide about number 5?
Well, we're going to keep going into it as we go through this study this week and next week. So we're just going to leave it at that for now because all we're doing is the word Lord. And what we learned from verse 5 is something is swept away like a flood, whether it's man or time. So, but that's all we're doing is writing down the facts at this point. We're not, what's the word? We're not deciphering, or there's another word. All we're doing is observations at this point.
Well, I think the key point is that this is whether it's the years pass or a man passes, it's at God's hand.
Okay, yeah.
Because we're focusing on the Lord and it's you sweep them away. So
right. So interpretation would be the next word, but we're not doing that right now. Right now we're just doing the observations, the facts. All right, so verse 7. What do we learn about the Lord? What are the facts written?
He has anger and wrath.
Yeah, and it consumes man, yeah. Well, that's what I put. Consumed. We have been consumed by your anger, yeah. Verse 8.
Are you putting this, each one of these in each one of these?
Yes, in a different box.
Okay.
So now I'm almost down to the bottom with verse 8.
Alrighty, okay.
Are you able to put your paper on the screen, Dave?
My scripture?
the observation lists.
I could, but nobody'd be able to read my writing.
Okay, but you can just point out because Gail is asking.
Well, I just don't know. You can see mine.
Yeah.
That's what you're saying. So there's only so many
Yeah.
boxes
They're
there.
So
Run out of
I know.
boxes.
I've got 4 off the bottom. Or you could turn it over and use the back side. But,
Okay, all right.
but this is the only one that has the most on my paper anyways about the Lord.
Yeah.
Okay, so then verse 8, what did anybody say about what does that say about the Lord? So this is that omni word.
Well, he knows our sins, even our secret sins.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, I said knows all, or you could say omni what? Present or not omniscient or. So then verse 10, what do you learn? Although you said, Dave, this is not about the Lord, right? So leave that one off, okay? The next one is verse 11. What do you learn about the Lord in verse 11? Who understands or considers the power of your anger and your fury according to the fear that is due you?
So his anger is powerful.
Okay.
And it's justified.
Oh, good.
Wouldn't we say on verse 10 that he limits our days or controls the length of our
Yep.
lives?
So, but verse 10 is not talking about the Lord, right? Like there's nothing highlighted here about the Lord or referring to the Lord. And so that is going to go in the other column under man. So I
But
originally,
it's the Lord who establishes our 70
Okay.
years.
okay,
Yeah.
It just doesn't say that in the verse, but
okay. Yeah, right. So that's our plan or the method is to just write down the facts at this point.
Mm.
We're just doing observations, not interpretation yet. Yeah. So, okay. So yeah, so that was good. Justified, powerful for verse 11. Okay. And then what? Verse 12? What do we learn about the Lord in verse 12?
He's wise.
Wise. Okay, I like that. Yeah, I said he's a teacher. Okay. Wise. All right. And then verse what? 14 or 13? What do you have for 13? Yeah, I ran out of space. So this is a prayer here at this point. So do we learn any facts in verse 13 about the Lord?
Well, the people are his servants.
Yeah. Okay. Or he has servants? Yeah, I guess so.
Like that.
All right. And then 14. I have he's merciful and loving kindness. And 15.
He can pay back the affliction with gladness.
Okay, so yeah, I have he afflicts us. So that's not something we want to hear about the Lord, eh? But yeah, he afflicts us. And then anything else? 16.
Well, he can, on 15,
Yeah, go ahead.
can impact our, had the word, our circumstances, really,
Okay.
you know.
Yeah. So, and every time you do this, you're going to get something different or something more. So then 16. He's majestic, I guess. He has the glory. And 17. Okay, so
Well, even in 16, like speaks of, he works. He's always working.
good. Excellent. Yep. And 17, favors.
And in 16:2, it talks about children, so it's telling you he's a father.
Ah. Isn't that amazing? All this stuff we can learn just by observing, stating the facts. Okay, so
Working is one thing that we heard today, right, Heather? That in the sermon we heard at church, talking about all the things that we see that we may not even recognize or appreciate as work of the Lord.
yeah, good. All right. So the next, so this we're all a work in progress. Okay, so now you do what you can do, and then we move on to the next thing. So the next thing on the list for me, I have is man. So what do we learn?
What version are you using, Heather?
I like the NASB.
Okay, thank you.
Dave likes the ESV. You can use whatever version, and I think using different versions is great because hearing you read, I can then put, iniquities. So I wrote sin above that, or where's another one? The word pride in verse 10, I wrote vanity, and then Dave had the word span. So it's really good to use different translations, and we get different words and we get different, but still at this point, we're not doing interpretation, we're just doing observations.
Well, my verse says you sweep people away, and you guys are having this discussion if it's
Yep.
people or not. So I didn't know what you were talking about.
Right.
But I will put two versions on. Okay.
Yeah, good. So, and you can see why doing this method, most people don't want to do because it takes hours and hours and hours, like they say 5 hours a week minimum.
But it makes you think about it a bit. So I'm not sure I'm clear on this interpretation part, right?
We're not at the interpretation yet. We're just
No, I
doing
know that.
observation.
No,
Okay.
I know that. But whether or not things that you're observing, you're going into interpretation, right? Versus just comments about the Lord. So, like, say, for example, in verse 17, establish the work of our hands. Well, I kind of thought, okay, well, that's like, well, he's the project manager kind of thing, right? So is that kind of going overboard in terms of what we should be observing? Is that
No,
what I'm trying to say in terms of is that the interpretation part?
I think that's fantastic.
Okay.
Yes. I would say that's an observation, and you've chosen that word for the word work or for that sentence or phrase.
Okay, thanks.
That's how I would.
Yep.
And that's the beauty of, getting together and hearing others' comments. Yeah. And so each time you do it, it just keeps getting deeper and deeper and more we're learning. So, okay, so let's go to the next one that now I've written down man. And so then we go through the verses again, looking at what are some facts about man. So what did you write for verse 1?
All generations have been the Lord, have dwelled with the Lord.
Okay. So I just put dwelling place in God. So man's dwelling place is in God. But that doesn't, we're not interpreting, so it has nothing to do with who, accepts that or believes that, right? It's just what this verse says.
Well, I use the word like dependence.
Okay, excellent. I like that. Yeah. Man is dependent on God. Very good. Okay, and then the next one I have is verse 3. So what's a fact about man in verse 3?
Born from the dust of the earth.
Right, he's dust. Yeah. And then the next one, for me, I have is verse 5. So, because I'm referring that them is regarding man, so swept away like a flood. So all that Susan was talking about, right? New in the morning, fades, withers away. So that's okay. And then verse 7 for man, we. So that's where I highlighted we, referring to man.
What did we put for the Lord at swept away?
So, but I like maybe Pete can come up with a word to explain that. I did not like I had that there, and then when Dave and I were doing it, I took it out because it's not a fact about God.
Well, I use judge
Judge, okay.
because it's talking. It does make reference to the flood, like well, you can't help but again, I could be overstepping and
No.
interpreting.
No, I think that's good. Yeah. Does that make sense, Gail?
Well, it's better than saying swept away, I guess,
Yeah.
because we're using that for man is swept away.
Right. And so, yeah, God is judging. So the Lord is judging in verse 5. Yeah, very good. So verse 7 regarding man,
He does the sweeping.
I have consumed. Man is consumed by God's anger.
Man is terrified.
Yeah. Dismayed. So your word is terrified. Mine is dismayed. Okay. Terrified. Good.
Or troubled. What else?
Troubled. Okay. Yeah.
That might have been what Arnold said it means. I'm not sure.
Yeah. Yeah. So then the next one, what's the next verse that talks about man? A fact about man?
Well, verse 8 indicates that there are iniquities or secret sins that man
Exa-
has.
Exactly. Yeah. They have secret sins. Yeah. And then the next verse about man, a fact. This is where I put the 70 to 80 years, roughly, or, approximately. So verse 10. Hmm? And there's something else in verse 10 about man.
Years are numbered.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, next one. Verse 11.
We don't realize God's anger.
Okay, so what's another word for my translation says, who understands the power of your anger? And
Man-
Dave's and Liz read it, and I think was the word was considers.
Consider, yeah.
A man is ignorant.
Mhm.
Ignorant.
Yeah, ignorant, yeah. Oblivious.
Yeah. So, and then when we talked about it last night, Dave, I just wrote down, man doesn't have fear of the Lord. So like you can put, however it makes sense to you. The next one, I only have one more regarding man, but there could be more.
Are we on 12?
Yeah, it could be. Yeah.
So really, if we need wisdom, right? Like what it's saying there. So we're I don't know, the opposite of that to me would be foolish,
Okay.
you know.
Very good. Yeah. So that's a way to do it. Yeah. What's the opposite? Yeah. Anything else regarding man? A fact about man?
Well, verse 13, we're God's servants.
Okay. Servants, yeah.
And verse 14, we want to be joyful so that we may sing for joy and be glad all our days.
Okay.
We want to be happy.
What was the
Pursuit
last?
of happiness.
Yes. Pursuit of happiness. Yeah. Okay. Anything else? Any other facts about man? I think the only other one I have is afflicted by God. So you could have, the same thing for the same verse in multiple columns, right? Because it's facts about the Lord, it's facts about man.
Well, in 14, you could also say, man seeks love, really.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Good.
In 17, we're supposed to be productive, work with our hands.
Very good. Yeah. Okay. And so then what is another column? So the next person like I have is Moses. So what facts do we learn about Moses? But I've only got 2.
Superscription calls him a man of God or the man of God.
Okay. So I didn't have that one. All right.
Where's Moses again?
So it's not in the scripture actually, is it? It's at the top. It says a prayer of Moses, comma, the man of God. So that's just the heading at the top.
Okay. Yeah, you're right.
So we know he prays because it's a prayer.
Excellent. So that's what I had for verses 13 to 17, the prayer of Moses on behalf of the nation. And then also, actually, it's the same thing, speaking on behalf of Israel. Yeah.
Yeah, because he never talks about himself in the first person, right? It's always we.
Okay. So then the next column I have is the nation of Israel.
Where do you get that from?
So, so then what we're doing still is we're looking for facts. So what facts do you learn about the nation of Israel from? So, where do you get that from? So
Okay,
that
so-
might. Mhm.
Yeah. So you're just saying we just look for it for the nation of Israel.
So, and I think it comes with practice and with learning and, through time in our Bible studies, we learn that the word nation is referring to Israel and the word nations is referring to the Gentiles. Now, maybe
Okay.
not 100% of the time.
Okay.
Right, one thing you haven't mentioned, Heather, is the context of when this was written.
Well, and
That
that's
can help us.
right.
Are
But
they
we're
a
not-
nation at this time, or are they just the Hebrews?
So, and that's a good point. We haven't even done those questions yet. Who, what, where, when, why, how, right? So maybe this is something that you can't answer at this point and you have to come back and answer it after. Right?
Well, if Moses exists, then the nation of Israel exists.
Because at reading this psalm, like you don't really know, like when I listened to Arnold, it was sort of like, wow, I would not have figured that out myself from reading it.
Mm-hmm. In
So-
my sort of little study notes, it says the psalm seems to have been composed as the older generation of Israelites who had left Egypt were dying off in the wilderness.
Right. Yes. So
It's
that's
sort of
referring
a context thing.
exactly. So let's leave that column then for now.
Perhaps a lot of what we talked about man there was actually Israel.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. But I didn't want to say that because we need to go through all these steps. And so like this is fantastic that you guys are getting involved and looking at it, and we're just looking at the facts. So
I
that's
think it's more than just man and being Israel, because we're all the same. We are dust. We
Yeah.
can have secret sins, and we are foolish, and we are supposed to be servants of God. You know,
right.
Oh, yes, I definitely agree. The applications there, but I'm
Oh,
just
yeah.
thinking, and because Moses is really praying, for like with respect to the exiles from Egypt that were in the wilderness compared to the new Israelites who are going into the promised land. So his prayer really is for his people, Israel, in the
Yeah.
past and in the future. So, but for sure, there's definitely application for all of us here.
For sure. Yeah.
Yeah, for
So
sure.
then
What
let's
Mike Kowalski always used to call TP, right? Transferable principles.
right.
Yes.
Yeah, very good. So let's go on now then. We're going back to this page, the observation worksheet, or I don't know what we call it, chapter study. So we've got the who, what, where, when, why, how. So let's go back there now. So we did the mark the keywords, and then we did our lists. So that's done. I mean, we can go back to the list and add to it if you want, but let's continue on now. So who? So who is this Psalm 90 about? So main characters. So maybe that's where the list goes, eh? What did you write for the who?
I put Moses,
Yeah.
the Israelite nation, and God.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah. So mark character and make lists. So that's what it says under who. So okay. So I guess these two marking keywords and phrases, and then who it's about. So I said God is the main character, and Moses' prayer, and he's the author. And I said, like Gail just said, so about man, about Israelites. Yeah. So then the what? What's the subject or the event?
I just said,
I wrote down that the subject is the eternity of God and man's frailty, just as it says at the beginning of Psalm 90.
Good. Okay. And Hilda?
That's one. That's one.
Yep.
One subject.
Good. And Hilda, what did you say?
it was the same, the eternalness of God versus the finite, frail nature of man due to sin.
Good. Okay.
And because I haven't done my homework, I'm cheating.
That's fine.
The thrust of this magnificent prayer is to ask God to have mercy on frail human beings living in a sin-cursed universe.
Okay. Good. Yeah. Anybody have anything else? Like, I don't think there's any one right answer. I said it's a meditation of Moses, similar to Deuteronomy 33:1. And that's what talks about Moses being a man of God. The fleeting nature of life. So that's, the same idea as the frailty of man. I also wrote human life is like a breath. Dave, what did you say? I wrote down stuff that you said.
Oh, about restoration and end to God's anger and wrath.
Okay, I didn't have that. You said something about the book of Genesis.
Oh, that's one of the similarities, right? It's talking about man returning to dust. So that's an allusion back to Genesis 3:19. God says, dust you are, and to dust you shall return.
Yeah, good.
So I have
Beginning-
something like,
Okay.
the Exodus generation versus the wilderness generation, their judgment compared to the hope for the future.
Oh, very good. Judgment versus hope.
what are you on now? What?
Yeah, what?
Okay. There's a
I'm having
whole list of
trouble
things
seeing.
here.
Sorry, Gail, what'd you say?
It's okay. I
Yeah,
didn't
like
know
there's
you
all
were-
sorts of things you can put, like what's the subject, what's the event? So yeah, the
Okay.
fleeting nature of man or whatever, the frailty of man. Yeah. Judgment versus hope. Is that what you said, Liz?
Well, I was just comparing the Exodus generation with the wilderness generation, right?
Mhm.
Judgment versus hope.
Yep. Yep. Beginning and end. All right, so then we can go on to the next one. When do these events occur? So this is like a key, when you first read this, I don't know how you can figure out when these events occur. So what did you think? And and so that brings up the thought that you don't always have an answer to every single one of these: who, what, when, where, why, how, right? Like some of them you just don't have an answer. So what did you write for when?
I don't know when exactly, but it was at the end of the wilderness wandering.
Yes.
The next generation is poised to go into the promised land.
So I do have a question about that. How do we even know that? Like
Yep.
like what is the kind of book somewhere? There's something that's written here that would give us that. Like, yes,
Right.
it's about Moses. Moses wrote it, but
Right.
how do we know that it happened then?
Right. Yeah, I agree with you. How do we know? Other than reading commentary.
I had the same question because that was a statement that Arnold made.
Yeah.
And I thought, how does he know that? So
Yep.
I read it through again. And the only thing that stood out to me, and I don't even know if I'm interpreting it correctly, but it was the verse that says, for verse 7, for we have been consumed by your anger. So I'm guessing he's referring to the loss of life that the children of Israel endured
Yes.
before they went into the. So I don't know if that's the correct interpretation, but that was the only thing I could come up with.
Yeah. Good. And I asked AI.
Yes. And what did I say?
Around 1400 BC, and Arnold said likely during the 40-year wilderness wandering. Yeah, before, entering the promised land. So then why? So it's okay to leave that blank, right? Like if, you're not comfortable with, we don't really know, and you can leave it blank, right? Like that. So the next one is why. Why is this mentioned?
Why what? Why did he write it?
Yeah, why Psalm 90? Why is it mentioned? Why was it written?
Sort of a plead to God.
Okay.
Because he'd
Yeah.
seen so many people die.
Yeah. Yeah. I've got asking for God's favor. Yeah.
Wouldn't that be the same as the purpose? What was the purpose of the psalm and why was the psalm written? They're the same thing.
Okay, but I don't have one that says purpose. So
What was
I
the
can
very first one? What was the very first one we had?
who, what, where, when, why, how.
Okay.
Yeah. So we could add that word purpose to why. Yeah. So what else do you have for why? Why was it written?
I suppose one thing that's not mentioned in this psalm is any mention about how better the second generation is than their parents. Right? Moses is, I think, understanding that the children are no better than the parents.
Mm.
And without God's grace, they're potentially going to face the same consequences.
Oh,
So
yes.
it's
Very good.
Yeah, I kind of put a similar thing, Dave. Like it's about the hope that the next people coming will live more wisely, more obediently,
Yeah.
more faithfully to God.
Excellent. Yep. Having an eternal perspective. Yeah. Encouraging the people to live wisely with an eternal perspective. Yeah. Yeah, a reality check, a lament. And yeah, your true security is found in God. I think that's what you must have said, Dave.
Yeah.
Okay. So then the next one is where. Where is, what was talked about in Psalm 90? Where did it happen?
Thought they were back at Kadesh Barnea again.
Well, that's what I thought, and that's what I wrote down. But when I did it with Dave, it was like, no. And then, so they're in the wilderness wandering, right? At this point, near the end, right? Is what we've
So
learned.
if that's so, right, then it would be just before they cross into the promised land.
Correct. But where? Where were they? And I thought Kadesh Barnea as well. But somehow Dave found out they were in Moab. But that's neither here nor there, really. Whether it's true or not, we don't know. But Dave found that out.
Where'd you find that out?
Just somewhere, Reddit, comment, little research.
Okay, next one. How? How did it happen, or how, what? To be done or something. Or I guess maybe how did they end up in this situation? How did Psalm 90 need to be written? So, and this, you need to have, of course, an understanding of what's going on here, right? The sin of Kadesh Barnea and the people and the time frame, and with Joshua and Caleb and the 10 spies, or whatever, the 12 spies and the 10 that rejected God. So that's what I said. They rejected God. God said, go in and I will go before you, but they did not believe God. So that was my answer for how they ended up in this situation.
So due to disobedience.
Okay. Very good. Yeah. But that's, my thoughts. So there could be another answer. So then we can go on to the next one, which is contrasts. So then we're looking through all the scriptures here to find contrasts. And so when you find a contrast, you can draw that like lightning bolt. So, and then the key words to look for in the scriptures to find a contrast would be, different, but, however, so two things being compared. And there's quite a few contrasts. So we've already talked about some, God being eternal and man being frail.
Holiness of God versus man's sin.
Okay, yeah. And I'm thinking of another one you said, Liz, about judgment and hope.
Right.
Even the wrath and fury of God and his loving kindness.
Oh, excellent. Yeah. Yeah, God's wrath. Okay.
And man sings for joy, but is also afflicted.
Uh-huh, right. Joy and affliction. Yeah. So the idea is you write down the verse and the two words, or the contrasts. That's the idea. So I've got the work of God versus the work of man. So, it could be, in verse 16 or 17 and verse 1, right? Like it takes a lot of work to look up, and it's a real discipline. Or you can cheat and use AI. Yeah, stable versus frail, creator versus creature, human. So life is brief. It's a passing moment compared, to eternity. Suffering versus the grace of the future. Any other contrast you can think of? So I've got God's wrath versus man's sigh. So but this came out when I was listening to Arnold. So maybe it'll come out next week, when we do the questions. Trying to find the word sigh.
There is in verse 9
9.
about all our
Oh
days
yeah,
pass away under your wrath.
right.
Our years end like a sigh, and then in verse
Okay.
14,
Okay.
you want to rejoice and be glad all their days.
Right. Yeah. Good. Okay. And then the next one is comparisons. So the idea is you draw that, equal line, which is whenever you see a comparison. And I have troubles understanding the difference between contrasts and comparisons.
Well,
So a comparison is a similarity with the words as or like.
well, man is compared to dust.
Oh, okay.
Well, I mean, it comes from it, but
Yeah. Okay. So then beside verse 3, you would draw the two equal, the two lines.
and God is compared to a dwelling place.
Oh. God dwelling place. Okay, I don't have that. And that is in like verse 1, I guess, right? So we would put that equal sign there. Anything else? So
Well,
we've
I
got,
don't know if this counts, but in verse 4, 1,000 years are as yesterday or as a watch.
okay.
Mm.
Yeah, because it's got the word as. Yeah. And that's what Susan was saying right at the beginning, right? You said the word watch. Yeah. And I've got human life is compared to a dream, and then / a brief sleep. And then also human life is compared to grass, flourishing and withering.
Um, oh, well, I was going to say death is like a sigh.
Okay.
I don't know. It doesn't say the word death though, but
Yeah.
I don't know if
And
that counts.
that's where I had, what did I have with sigh? Now I've lost it. Oh, God's wrath versus man's sigh. So maybe that's death, like you're saying.
Well, it says you have finished your years, so the end of your life is you go out like a sigh. You come in like a woohoo, baby cry,
Yeah, yeah,
and with a flourish, but you go out like a sigh.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I
Okay.
that.
So that was comparison. The next one is conclusion. So you look for the words therefore, for, so that, because, finally. So you can see how I was having great difficulty remembering all these things. So that's why I made the chart. So everywhere so then you draw the three little dots wherever it says therefore, for, so that, because, finally. And so what I did here was I just wrote down the verses. So verse 4, so I did the three little dots. Verse 7, the three dots. Verse 9. And then Dave, you came up with verse 12, right? That starts with so. So that would be a conclusion as well. So again, we're not in the interpretation yet, right? We're still just marking. So then the next one is about references to time. So it's already been mentioned that there's so many mentions of time. And Liz, you said you put a capital T, and here it recommends you drawing a circle and then draw a line with two little feet and then the bells on the top for the time symbol. But you do what you want, right? And so then here you look for the words then, beginning, until now, those days, since, previously, and then I wrote before verse 2 for the verse before, or verse 2. So what did you put in that?
Put in verse 1, generation.
Okay. Yeah, I wrote generations. That's right. Verse 1. Okay.
And everlasting.
Yeah.
And in verse 2, time.
Say that again, Marie.
In verse 2, the term everlasting refers
Okay.
to time.
Excellent. Yeah. Yeah.
And before,
So everywhere, I don't know if you can see my paper, but everywhere that word everlasting. So I drew a little clock, or you could put the T for time or whatever you want to do, right? Like I just drew the little clock. But you can see how your paper gets easily cluttered up if you do too many. So who said something when I cut you off?
I just said verse 2 before is refers to time as well.
I think so too. Yeah. Good. Anything else? The 1,000 years in verse 4.
Yesterday,
Verse 5,
Yeah. Verse 5.
verse 5 in the morning.
Okay. Grass fades, I had, and renewed. Yep. 70 and 80 years in verse 10. So I put the little clock above that. So you can see how you need to just keep reading it over and over and over every time you're looking for a new, right, to fill in these. So verse 12, teach us to number our days. But it makes it easy to find. So once you've done all this work, this preparation work of observation, it's easy to find it then. All the references to time or, yeah, right? Or conclusions or contrasts. So then we can turn over the page and now we're going to be looking at warnings. So what are some warnings or exhortations in this Psalm 90?
verse 3,
Okay.
return.
Yes,
Repent.
exactly. Yeah. So you could put a big W there. That's a warning. Okay.
Or a caution sign.
Okay, sure. Yeah. I think that might be one of them in the one that Dave showed us. Yeah. Okay, what else is a warning? So nothing is hidden from God. We are subject to his judgment. Where is that? About the secret sin. So that's verse 8. So you could put a big W there. Take divine judgment seriously. So would that be where that word, who understands the power of your anger, or who considers it, or who is ignorant about it? So take it seriously. The next one I have is about wisdom. So that's verse 12, right? May present to you a heart of wisdom, or to be wise. So be intentional. So that's verse 12. And then the one that I like is don't live carelessly. Oh, so that would be part of 12, I guess. Don't live carelessly. Seek a heart of wisdom. Yeah, be intentional. Life is a sigh. So that's another one. Verse 9. So I'm just putting W's at the edge here on this side in front of that verse. Any other thoughts? Okay, so the next one is commands and instructions. So, and it looks to me like this is live a meaningful life. So don't live carelessly, seek a heart of wisdom. So to me, that's sort of the same, right? Live a meaningful life. number your days for wisdom, have a heart of wisdom. So I see those as sort of being overlapping.
Well, use your days wisely.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. And that to me is what this whole psalm is about. That would be, next week at the end of it all, that will be the final statement. Another command or instruction, find God as your dwelling place or your home, or make God your dwelling place. So that would be number one, I guess. So that could be a C or a instruction, command or instruction. What did you say, Dave? I think you used the word satisfied or something.
Yeah, to be satisfied.
With God, right?
Right.
Be satisfied with God's love or
Yeah,
find
verse
joy.
14, yeah, satisfy in the morning with your love.
So verse 14, so like find joy in the Lord. Yeah, don't. And I always remember Pastor Paul at Compass Point. He was up there with all the, the Burlington Post, all the newspapers. I'm going back probably 10 years or more. And he was up there looking through all the flyers, and he was making a point of, that's what we do. We're always in search for the next greatest thing. You're not satisfied with your, iPhone 10 or whatever.
iPhone
So, yeah.
10.
With these commands and instructions, are we looking at just the commands from man, or are we looking at the commands that man is asking God to do? Because
Oh,
if we're saying satisfy, man is asking, Moses is asking God to satisfy us in the morning, loving kindness. Be sorry for your servants, okay, in order that we can sing for joy. Make us glad, okay? Let your work appear to your servants. That's all commands that Moses is making to God. And of course, often we express our prayers in the command form where we are actually asking, but we express it in the command form.
yeah.
Okay.
I would say it's commands and instructions for us, but
No, because Moses is asking God to do that.
right. No, I understand that, but your question was, which ones are we writing down? And I would just write down the ones for me. What do you
Well,
think?
I also,
Well, because people are saying satisfy and do this and do that. Well, that's not for us to satisfy, it's for God to satisfy us.
so
Okay.
I made a separate section in this commands and instructions, and I called it pleadings to God, that
Oh,
Moses was pleading to God for the
Yes.
things that Susan had mentioned. And
okay.
so because we never really looked at that, but it was very strong in the Psalm. So while I was looking at commands and instructions, I was applying that like to like the people. And then I made a whole separate list in the same section, their pleadings to God.
Mhm.
Very
Because I
good.
thought that was important. And just what Susan said.
Excellent. I'm glad you shared that. Excellent. So like there is no rules, right? Like it's whatever works for you, what you get from it, what the Lord shares with you. Like that's the whole purpose of this is to be relying upon the Holy Spirit, right? To guide us and direct us and teach us. And then getting together and sharing what we've learned. Like that's the beauty. Anything else with commands or instructions? Live joyfully despite troubles. Repent of secret sin. So I guess confess. Acknowledge God's sovereignty. Prioritize, I guess, God over, temporary or superficial. Like there's a lot of serious stuff in here, eh? So then the next one is the paragraph themes. And I remember when we were doing Psalms before we started what we just finished, the end time study, we had everybody using a different translation had different paragraph themes, right? So hopefully here we only have the 3. What are your paragraph themes?
I have 4.
Uh-oh. Okay, what are your 4?
Verse 1 to 2, the Lord is eternal. Verse 3 to 6, but man's life is fleeting. Verse 7 to 11, we are brought to an end by your wrath. And 12 to 17 is teach us wisdom and establish our work.
Okay, good. All right. Anybody else want to share your paragraph themes? Do you know there's a name for this? We learned this from one of the groups we were in, the man that was leading it. Do you want me to share the word, Dave?
Yeah.
Susan and Liz might know the word. Perdicades or something. Perdicabes or how do you say it?
Pericopes.
Pericopes. Have you guys heard that word? No? Pericopes.
We used to have to do that when I was in school doing English, and it was just called doing a précis,
Oh,
which is similar to word, right?
yeah.
Praise.
Yeah,
Interesting.
yeah. But you would know, of course, Susan. But I've never heard
Oh,
of that.
no, I don't.
Oh, you
I've
don't? Oh,
I've heard that, I know Tracy
Yeah,
because
yeah.
I was asked to do that as well, but that's what it was called.
yeah. Anyway.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. So, okay, anyone else want to share their different paragraphs, their segment divisions? So one of the things that this book, How to Study Your Bible, and this was like the most significant thing for me when I first started that study, was these paragraph themes. And in the New American Standard Version, the number that is bold tells you the beginning of a new paragraph division. But not all the translations do that. I think it's only the New American Standard. So then what they recommend is you get a ruler and draw a line. And so what I've been doing is, so I draw a line for me at the end of number 6, so 1 to 6, 7 to 12, and then 13 to 17. And so then what I do is on the sideways, I turn my paper sideways and I write. So I've got God, a dwelling place, and then in brackets, refuge. So that's how I do it. So I've got it right on my observation sheet.
You just put brackets around it.
Sure. Yeah. And then for the next one that I have, 7 to 12, human frailty versus God's eternality. And then like my paper's really getting cluttered here, but so then that's why using different colors is helpful. And then the next one is 13 to 17, a prayer for wisdom, compassion and mercy. So prayer for wisdom, compassion and mercy. So that's what I said. Now everybody has a different answer or similar answers, right?
I got my answers from Arnold.
Yep. Yep. Well, and that's why I thought this was a good one to do this method with, but I can't find any others yet. But I'll keep looking because it seems like you guys, a lot of you are enjoying doing this method. No? Gail says no.
No, I don't care for it at all.
No? Okay.
That's just me, okay? I'm one in what have we got here? 10 or 12 people?
Yeah. But you're here and
I'm
Lisa
here.
showed up too. And we know
I love the
Lisa's-
psalm. I just love the psalm and reading it over and listening to what Arnold had to say.
Yeah.
Brought out several things that I hadn't ever
Right.
considered.
Yeah.
But you know what? It did make me feel that I'm at that point in my life
Yes.
where I'm living this out,
Yeah.
and it's very real to me.
Yeah. But remember what Hilda said right at the beginning. Where did I write that? We just studied about the eternal order and
Oh,
1,000
absolutely.
years
I mean, heck,
kingdom.
my favorite verse is Titus 2:13.
Which says what?
We're waiting for the hope of the Lord, his return.
Yeah, good. So that takes us into the next section about the cross references. So did anybody write down cross references? Or parallels, right? Parallels, I guess, is the next box after word studies. So I've got Deuteronomy 33. So this is where, like, as you're doing your observations and listening to Arnold, right? His the audio or the manuscript, you know, when it comes across a verse, you write it in here. So yeah, Deuteronomy 33:27, talking about God being our refuge. So that's in Deuteronomy, like, wow. And then Psalm 91, a dwelling place. And then 2 Peter 3:8, talking about, you know, one day being like 1,000 years. James 4:14, life is a mist that appears for a little time. Isaiah 40 verses 6-8, the grass and the flowers. And then Hebrews 4:13, all things are exposed to God, or maybe God exposes all things. Any other scriptures? Like, I really like this because I've got a piece of paper now that's got all this information on it from Psalm 90.
I didn't really have time to look up references, but I think there's a lot of connection with the feeling in Ecclesiastes
Ah,
that life is short and vanity and all of that.
excellent.
Anyway,
Yes.
but no specific references.
Okay, no, but that's good. So that you know, could be a parallel, I suppose.
Maybe, yeah.
Yeah. So then, and anybody do any word studies? Did you look up any? So this is where I would use the Bible Hub, or there's other, what are some other ones you can use? Logos, if you have that. Dave, what are some other names of the Bible studies? I suppose you could actually get a book out. The Bible.
Bible Hub and some software would be
There's,
two choices I would use.
yeah, there's another one. I forget the name. But anyways, I use the Bible Hub, and then I go into the interlinear, and I look up the words, like whatever word. So based on, you know, your translation as you're reading it. But I do find listening to other people's translations and then writing down what their word says to be very helpful as well. You know, like that word, mine is in verse 10, it says the word pride, and Dave's word was span in the ESV, and someone else's was the word vanity. So, you know, you can look up these words, and then actually in verse 14, your loving kindness, satisfy us in the morning with your loving kindness. So you can look up that word, and it's Hesed, Chesed. So you can, you know, that's where you would write that in here, the word studies, look up the definition, and it would have a number, a keyword number. And I find that to be very helpful as well. So this method, filling in all these, you know, blanks, all these squares, is in this How to Study Your Bible. And it's opened up my eyes to what Arnold and all these people that we're listening to, these commentaries, they do that. That's what they do, you know, as well as looking up how many times that word is used. And I mean, I'm sure a whole bunch of other things as well, but this is a start. And so parallels. So this is where I put the creation is like dust. Yeah, Genesis 3:19. And so now I can put in Ecclesiastes from Liz, right? Life is short, vanity.
What about when Jesus was praying over Jerusalem right? And Matthew. Like,
Okay.
I don't know. Like he was kind of lamenting over the state that they were in,
Right.
but not with hope, I don't think. Whereas here it was with more hope.
Hmm.
Maybe. I don't know. I put that down anyway.
Yeah, very good. Any other thoughts, parallels?
Yeah, I had a little difficulty with the idea of cross references,
Okay.
and maybe I'm jumping ahead, but Arnold made the statement that no statement in Psalm 90 is taken
Yes.
from any other psalm.
Right. Yep.
However, when we were looking at cross references, there are
Yeah.
cross references in other psalms. So,
But
I don't know what he meant.
okay, what did he mean by that, Dave, or anyone else?
Well, I think that's based on what he believes is the fact that this is probably the oldest psalm. So it would be difficult for it to quote anything of the other writings. But I think the reverse is true. Like there's plenty of things, other books or even other psalms that use the same imagery. Like what's Psalm 39.
And 91 or like so that reminds me of what we studied in Footsteps. Arnold is constantly saying, and it's in the beginning of Footsteps, that everything in the Bible, like the Bible interprets itself, except chapters 21 and 22 of Revelation. That's all new information, but everything else can be interpreted from the Bible. So like I'm thinking, because the cross reference that I'm thinking of here is, God is our refuge. But I don't think that applies to what you're saying, Marie, that Moses got that information and brought it into this psalm. It's just like what Dave said. What did you call that, Dave? What did you say?
A quotation?
Yeah, like so referring to God being our refuge or dwelling place. So I think what Arnold was saying is this psalm was the first one, right? And it's not using any other psalms. Is that what it was Arnold was saying?
But
Yeah.
others
Well,
that were written later may have taken from him,
Okay.
right? It could have
Oh,
gone
so
the
that's
other
what
way.
Dave said, reversed. Okay.
And I think it's likely from what I understand is that Moses would have been writing some of the other books in the Pentateuch at the same time he was doing this,
Mhm.
right? Deuteronomy, probably specifically, maybe some of the other books as well. I'm not sure.
So
So
that's
some of the same terminology or phrases would have come out.
yeah. So
All
that's
these people like the sons of Korah and David and that who wrote the Psalms, most of the other Psalms, right? They would have already studied the Torah, or the Moses' writings,
yeah.
because that's what they had at that time.
Yeah. Yeah. Very good. Any other comments? Any other thoughts of what we did today? So yeah, so all we did was basic, observations, the facts. And I really had a difficult time with that because, when I was in this study group, it was like, I don't know, 12 weeks long. And I had such a huge trouble with that because I'm, but used to studying Arnold's material, which is all about interpretation and from the Jewish interpretation. So I really struggled with just writing down the facts.
So I guess we'll talk about the other stuff next time when we get into questions.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, because it's 8:52. So that's really good. So yeah, we've got 4 pages of questions based on the 4 audios and the manuscript. And yeah, so we're going to go over the same material, but it's going to just now be interpretation and it's going to be deeper and layers, right? And also it's from Arnold's point of view. because there are other points of view, right? Like, and Arnold does say it's possible, maybe, it's likely, right? So, and because Dave, you did come across some material that says it's not about this period of time at all. It was Babylonian or something.
Yeah, there was a couple of other dates possible that some scholars believe. Yeah.
But we're studying from Arnold's material, and I mean, we're not dogmatic. We're just interested in learning, and we can apply this information that we're learning to all areas.
Well, how could it be from Babylonia when Moses wrote it?
Well, that's the question. Some people don't believe he did.
Oh, okay.
That is just
No, it says it
attributed to him.
I see.
Well, and you were saying Moses wasn't alive or something. We were talking about that, right? When he wrote about, what did you say? Something about when he died? He didn't write that himself, obviously, because he wasn't alive. Something like that you were saying.
Oh, about at the end? Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so everybody's got that and knows what we're doing next week. And okay, so Dave, if you can end us in prayer. That was really good. Thank you.